Welcome to the news at 6 on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Let's begin with this evening's headlines. Jolt for the government as Supreme Court declares National Judicial Appointments Commission unconstitutional. 4-1 majority verdict of Constitution Bench seeks revival of the collegium system of appointing judges. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses 10th anniversary of the Central Information Commission, emphasizes the need to bring openness in governance. Voters cast ballots in Maoist-affected districts of Bihar. Second phase of elections records over 52.53% voting till 4 p.m. European Union agrees to joint plan with Turkey to check the inflow of migrants in Europe, accepts its demand to fast-track its proposal to join the bloc. Our top focus on the news at 6 this evening. The Supreme Court today quashed the constitutional amendment and the law for setting up the National Judicial Appointments Commission. The government and other political parties reacted with surprise to the unexpected development. The 5-judge Constitution Bench held that both the 99th Amendment Act and the consequent NJAC Act were bad in law. It also ordered the revival of the collegium system, which was being sought to be replaced by the NJAC. Here's more.
Unconstitutional was the word the Supreme Court used to describe the proposed National Judicial Appointments Commission. The court struck down the 99th constitutional amendment that the Modi government brought to scrap the old collegium system of selecting judges. The 4-1 majority verdict also rejected the central government's petition that petitions challenging the NJAC Act could be referred to a larger bench.
The court has held that this National Judicial Appointments Commission, in which the government would get a substantial say in judicial appointments, interferes with the independence of the judiciary and therefore has been declared to be unconstitutional.
The government argued that the NJAC was a more transparent system since it included the law minister, 2 eminent persons selected by the government, the leader of the opposition, Chief Justice and 3 senior judges. Law Minister Sadanand Gowda said he was surprised by the court's ruling.
I have to discuss with my law officers and I should discuss with my senior cabinet colleagues and the Prime Minister. Then we will decide what next step that we need to take.
Former Union Minister Salman Khurshid said the judiciary and parliament needed to hold a dialogue to reach a common point on the issue.
This indicates is that there is need for a larger conversation and dialogue between the judiciary and parliament. How that is to happen, when it can be done, in which manner it can be done, that is for the government and for parliament to reflect upon. But this is a clear indication that 2 very important wings of government, which believes in separation of powers, have sought a conversation. Just unilateral actions may not be enough. There has to be collective bilateral action.
The NJAC Act and the Constitutional Amendment Act came into force from 13th of April this year. The Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association filed a petition challenging the new legislation.
हमने चैलेंज किया था कि जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की अमेंडमेंट हुआ है और 99th अमेंडमेंट एक्ट और जो नेशनल जुडिशियल अपॉइंटमेंट कमीशन एक्ट बना, ये इस बेसिस पे बना कि जो पहले कोलिजियम सिस्टम काम कर रहा था शायद वो इतना परफेक्ट नहीं था. तो चलो मान लो अगर परफेक्ट नहीं था तो कुछ उसी में कुछ प्रावधान ऐसे किए जाएं कि उसको और थोड़ा ब्रॉडर बनाया जाए, ज्यादा ऑब्जेक्टिव बनाया जाए, ज्यादा ट्रांसपेरेंट बनाया जाए.
The centre defended the new law, saying the 2-decade-old collegium system where judges appointed judges was not free from defects. Besides Parliament, it was supported by the Supreme Court Bar Association and 20 state governments. The collegium system was created by 2 Supreme Court judgments in 1990s. Accordingly, a body of senior judges headed by the Chief Justice of India selects persons and recommends their names for appointment as judges. The Apex Court has now scheduled 3rd November for further hearing to improve the collegium system. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has stressed upon the need to bring openness in governance in order to help citizens. Addressing the 10th anniversary of the Central Information Commission, he also termed RTI Act as an effective tool to build trust between the government and the common man. Here's more.
सत्ता को क्वेश्चन करने का भी अधिकार हो और यही लोकतंत्र की बुनियाद है और हम उस दिशा में जितनी तेज गति से काम करेंगे उतना लोकतंत्र के प्रति लोगों का विश्वास और बढ़ेगा.
Denying the need for secrecy in today's world and promoting a more open style of governance, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that citizens and the government must have faith in each other. Addressing the 10th anniversary of the Central Information Commission, the Prime Minister also asked government officials to reduce errors in governance with the help of RTI.
ये सारा कम्युनिकेशन जो है, इंफॉर्मेशन एक्सेस करने की जो प्रक्रिया है, वो एक तो ट्रांसपेरेंट होनी चाहिए, टाइमली होनी चाहिए एंड ट्रबल फ्री होनी चाहिए.
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said the RTI Act will become mature with the passage of time, even as the debate over its effectiveness continues.
Where do we then draw the line between public conduct and privacy of an individual? Those who administer this act will have to exercise that discretion itself adequately. Where is it that information is being used for empowerment, to avoid harassment, for the benefit of the small man, or is it merely being used by some busybodies for collateral purposes? I think this is a never-ending debate which will have to carry on.
RTI activists present at the occasion in turn expressed hope that the government would come good on its promise.
We haven't in these 16 months seen any action. We saw words before the government came in, we saw words today, we've heard words today. We hope to see action.
It's been a decade since the RTI Act came into effect. Every year, almost 80 lakh people use the Act to seek information from various government departments. Vishal Daya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on now, tens of thousands of voters on Friday defied the Maoists and stood in long winding queues in the second phase of Bihar's staggered assembly elections. As many as 23 out of the 32 constituencies where voting took place were Maoist affected. Here's what happened during the second phase of polling in Bihar. Voting for the second phase of elections in Bihar began at 7 a.m. in the morning. The fate of 456 candidates in 32 constituencies spread over 6 districts was sealed earlier. The districts that went to polls are Kaimur, Rohtash, Arwal, Jahanabad, Aurangabad and Gaya.
हम लोग सोच रहे हैं कि देश का विकास हो, देश आगे बढ़े, भ्रष्टाचार मिटे यहाँ का.
अपने मन से मतदान दें, किसी के प्रेशर मतदान नहीं दें, विकास का मतदान दें.
का मुद्दा है विकास ही होना. विकास होने का मतलब देश का विकास, मतलब हमारा विकास.
The second phase of polling constituted a great challenge for the security personnel as the 6 districts are heavily affected by Naxalism. In view of the security concerns, voting time was curtailed by 1 hour and 2 hours in as many as 23 constituencies.
पूरी तरह से शांतिपूर्ण है. स्वच्छता के बिंदु पे भी आप जो वोटर्स खड़े हैं, जो टर्नआउट हो रहा है, उससे भी एहसास हो रहा है कि लोग अपने घरों से निकल के बिल्कुल उत्सवी जो माहौल एक होता है मतदाताओं का, वो चेहरे से भी पता चलता है, उनके हाव भाव से भी. तो वो सारी जगह से जो सूचनाएं आ रही हैं अभी तक पूरी तरह से शांतिपूर्ण है.
A total of 86,13,870 voters were eligible for the second phase of polling. There are 456 candidates in the fray, 32 out of whom are women. A total of 9,119 polling stations were used for polling. 993 companies of the Central Paramilitary Forces and the State Police were deployed on the day to ensure peaceful voting. As many as 334 companies were in service in Gaya, 201 in Rohtash and 193 in Aurangabad. There were several bigwigs in the fray in the second phase. One among them, the former Chief Minister Jitan Ram Manjhi, who was contesting from 2 seats. He was seen at a polling station casting his vote.
हार का तो कोई सवाल कहीं नहीं उठ रहा है. जीतन का मतलब ही है जीत. इसलिए वो दोनों सीट से हम लोग जीतेंगे. मार्जिन कहाँ ज़्यादा होता है, कहाँ कम होता है, वो अलग बात है. लेकिन सीट निकलेगी, दोनों सीट जीतेंगे हम लोग.
Other political parties too were upbeat about their chances.
हम स्वीप करेंगे और उसमें बड़ा योगदान बीजेपी का है. पूरी सरकार यहाँ उन्होंने कैंपेन में डाली और प्रधानमंत्री जो है वो गली गली डगर डगर नगर नगर जो घूमे हैं, तो लोगों को लग गया क्या है ये भारत के सारे देश के कई सूबों में चुनाव हुए, ऐसा कभी हुआ नहीं है। तो है ना, लोगों को सचेत कर दिया, उन सचेत लोगों को हम लोग समझा रहे हैं।
मुझे लगता है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी एनडीए की सरकार शासन में आएगी, ये पूरे संकेत पूरे बड़े अक्षरों में दीवालों पर लिखा है। एक बिहार में वातावरण बदल चुका है, लहर की स्थिति है और 50 साल के शासनकाल, 25 साल कांग्रेस का, 15 साल लालू यादव का, 5-10 साल नीतीश कुमार का, अब वो कार्यकाल समाप्त करके।
The elections in the state are being conducted in 5 phases. With 2 phases completed, the next phase will be held on the 28th of October, followed by the 4th phase on November 1st and the 5th phase on November 5th. Counting will take place on November 8th. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. Umesh Sinha of the Election Commission is addressing the media. Let's listen into what he has to say.
लगभग 55% रहा, जो पिछली बार 52.03% था। यदि इसको हम कुल चुनाव में अभी तक यदि परसेंटेज देखें तो 55% से ये पहले दूसरे फेज तक का मिला के अभी प्रतिशत रहा है। और अभी इसमें इसके जो फाइनल फिगर्स हैं वो इसके बाद प्राप्त हो जाएंगे थोड़े देर के बाद, जिसकी सूचना आपको अलग से प्रदान की जाएगी। तो आज के प्रमुख हाइलाइट्स ये थे। परसेंटेज ऑफ विमेन वोटर, जो जानकारी मिली है उसके अनुसार उनकी भागीदारी ज़्यादा रही है। महिलाओं का प्रतिशत 57.5% रहा है, जो कि पुरुषों के मुकाबले ज़्यादा रहा है, और पुरुषों का मतदान प्रतिशत 52.50% रहा। जी जी ओके। फर्स्ट फेज में 56.3% टर्नआउट रहा। सेकेंड फेज के लिए 54.82% रहा। और यदि टोटल मिला दें फर्स्ट और सेकेंड फेज का तो 55.34% रहा। Yes, that's exact, but this exact will change. There will be minor variation because we will receive the final figures after some time, because there were some people who were still in queue, and so probably towards the late evening we would be able to get the final figures.
Joining me for a chat right now is our correspondent Vishal Dahiya. Vishal, the second phase of polling is done and dusted as far as Bihar is concerned. You know, fingers were crossed today because all the 6 districts that went to polls, of course, were Maoist-affected districts. But nonetheless, it's been a peaceful day all through.
Well, yes, as far as Election Commission officials are concerned, they would be relieved as of now, because the entire proceedings in this second phase of voting for Bihar elections passed on peacefully. There was no untoward incident. And as you rightly pointed out, given the fact that most of, the parts of these 6 districts were considered to be Maoist infested, and there were apprehensions between, within the Election Commission as well as the administration that there might be a possibility of some untoward incident, but it seems the entire machinery, including the security personnel, have done their job perfectly well. The day has passed off peacefully, and even the percentage of polling, that is the number of voters who have come out, is an impressive one, around 55%, as the Election Commission officials were just telling us a short while ago. One very interesting figure which came out in today's polling, that's in the second phase polling as well, is the very fact that the women voters have come out in large numbers, much more than their men counterpart, and the percentage of women voters this time around is also somewhere around 57%, significantly higher than the men who came out and vote. There will be a separate analysis for this particular segment of the voters coming out and voting. There will be obviously calculations which will be done by political parties with their respective mathematics in their mind. But if you look at the political landscape of these 6 districts and 32 seats which went to the polls today, another very interesting factor and sort of similar to what it was in the first phase was that as far as BJP is concerned, not much play for BJP was there in these seats, though there, BJP's allies such as RLSP, LJP, the Hindustan Awam Morcha, Secular, these are three alliance partners of the BJP which had significant footing in these particular districts, and that's what BJP is resting its hopes on, that in the second phase also they might have much leeway given the fact that their alliance partners have a lot of influence in these areas. For the Mahagathbandhan on the other side, things remain similar as it was in the first phase. They're hoping to put up a nice combined show in this phase as well. But if you look at the other factor that's of star candidates, then Jitan Ram Manjhi, the HAM chief, his son, and several other high-profile candidates from BJP, the Speaker of the outgoing Assembly as well. All these candidates were, their fate rather has been sealed in EVMs.
Indeed, the fate of several people have been sealed as far as these polls are concerned. Thank you so much, Vishal Dahiya, for joining us there with those details as far as the Bihar polls is concerned. For all the latest and to get a roundup of everything that took place in Bihar today, do stay tuned for our special election bulletin verdict 2015 that is coming up after this show. Meanwhile, of course, it's time to slip into a short break now. Relief for former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh in a coal scam case. Details coming up. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The poll juggernaut rolls out in Bihar. Modi's NDA takes on Nitish's Grand Alliance. Who will win this most important election battle since 2014? Watch Verdict 2015, Monday through Saturday on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh will not be made an accused in the coal scam case as a special court today rejected a petition to summon him. In a major relief for the former Prime Minister, the court dismissed the plea of former Jharkhand Chief Minister Madhu Koda seeking Singh to be summoned. Koda had claimed that Singh was aware of everything in the process of allocating the coal block to Naveen Jindal's firm. In his plea, Koda also sought to summon Anand Swarup, the then Secretary Energy, and Jai Shankar Tiwari, then Secretary of Mines and Geology, as accused. CBI had argued in the court that the records do not reflect that Manmohan Singh had any complicity with any accused in any manner. Moving on now to another big story. Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar was caught on the wrong foot today while giving an interview to a national daily, saying that Muslims must give up eating beef to continue living in India. Khattar added fuel to an already raging fire over the issue. However, later he denied making the statement. Here's more.
मेरे भाव को, मेरे शब्दों को गलत ढंग से तोड़ मरोड़ करके मैं समझता हूँ कहा गया है.
Making a complete U-turn, Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar has taken a step back on the beef issue. Khattar quoted controversy earlier when he said that the Muslim community should stop consuming beef if they want to continue living in India. He now says his words were distorted. As the remarks sparked outrage, BJP dissociated itself from Khattar's views, calling them wrong. The party also asserted that this was not its stand.
यानी रोज कोई ना कोई कहीं ना कहीं से बयान देते, जैसे खट्टर कह रहा कि पाकिस्तान चले जाओ, मांस यानी आप नॉर्थ ईस्ट का क्या करोगे, हटा दोगे उसको. यानी देश की एकता जो है वो इतने अंतर्विरोधों से भरा हुआ देश है ये, इसमें कोई एक तरह का समाज है ही नहीं. ये कोई यूरोप नहीं है, ये कोई चीन नहीं है, ये भारत है.
मुख्यमंत्री का ये बयान कि रह सकते हैं वरना देश को छोड़ दें, ये बयान संविधान के खिलाफ है. और इस बयान के बाद मुख्यमंत्री को मुख्यमंत्री बने रहने का कोई हक नहीं है।
ये तो केवल एक सेंसिटिव मुद्दा है। क्या इस मुद्दे में जो है मुसलमानों के लिए कंपलसरी और दूसरों के लिए ऑप्शन किया गया है, जबकि बहुत ज़्यादा अधिक मात्रा के अंदर मुसलमानों से ज़्यादा हमारे दूसरे भाई हैं जो कि बीफ खाते हैं। इसलिए उनका एक बयान जो है हमारे देश की एकता और अखंडता के लिए और शांति के लिए और हमारे जो है सेक्युलर जो है पैटर्न के लिए बहुत नुकसानदेह है, बहुत निंदनीय है।
Meanwhile, a full bench of the Jammu and Kashmir High Court has set aside an earlier order on enforcing legal bar on bovine slaughter and beef sale. Passing the order, the court said it was an issue for the state government and legislature to consider. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
Let's now get you some more national news and updates in our segment Nationwide. India's subsonic cruise missile Nirbhay nosedived midway after it was the missiles were fired in Chandipur in an integrated test range in Chandipur. This, of course, was in Odisha. The takeoff was reportedly successful, but the missile deviated from its path and failed to hit the target. This was Nirbhay's third flight trail. The Supreme Court has dismissed a plea seeking legal action against Prime Minister Narendra Modi for allegedly filing false information relating to his marital status in an affidavit. The complaint was filed in 2014 when Modi mentioned the name of his spouse in his nomination papers for the Lok Sabha polls. The court rejected the complaint since it was lodged after a delay of more than a year. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's family members have decided to maintain a weekly communication with the Prime Minister's office to keep up the pressure to declassify files. The family members also urged that the centre should publish a report containing a summary of the contents of the declassified files. Moving on to some international news now. Rioters today torched a Jewish holy site in the West Bank city of Nablus. The incident of arson came barely hours after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called on Palestine to stop a wave of attacks. Palestinian rioters set ablaze a tomb revered as that of the biblical figure of Joseph. The Jewish holy site was badly damaged. Palestinian police forces dispersed the crowd as firefighters extinguished the fire. Israel's military spokesperson said that they will bring perpetrators to justice. Condemning the attack, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas said that the site will be repaired. Violence between the two sides has spiraled with near daily stabbings by Palestinians of Israelis during this month. Well, the European Union backed Turkey's action plan to control the spiraling migrant crisis. It has agreed to a few demands from Turkey to speed up visa liberalization talks as well as to renew talks over Ankara joining the EU. Meanwhile, an Afghan migrant was shot dead by a Bulgarian after he entered the country from Turkey. Here's more.
First of all, allow me to express cautious optimism. And I have to underline, of course, the word cautious. We welcome the agreement of an EU-Turkey joint action plan to tackle the current migratory crisis.
After 2 days of negotiations, the 28-member European Union agreeing to a joint action plan with Turkey to check the flow of migrants into Europe.
We have agreed with our Turkish partners that the visa liberalization process will be accelerated. This does not mean that we would step away from the basic criteria, which are the rules in that domain. So there will be no other criteria for Turkey, and we'll assess progress made in spring 2016.
Other agreements in the deal include reviving talks over Turkey joining the EU, as well as a €3 billion aid to Turkey. European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker said talks over the aid will continue with Turkey over the coming days. German Chancellor Angela Merkel will travel to Turkey during the weekend for further talks. Turkey is hosting nearly 2 million migrants, most of them fleeing the Syrian war. It has also called for an international safe zone for refugees inside northern Syria. However, EU dismissed it because of the Russian involvement in Syria.
Der EU-Haushalt kann das nicht. Wir haben heute Abend darüber gesprochen, was die Mitgliedstaaten leisten können. Aber da brauchen wir noch klarere Angaben. Aber im Grundsatz war die Meinung weit verbreitet, dass es ein guter Grund ist, Flüchtlinge näher ihrer Heimat zu beherbergen.
Hungary says it will close its border with Croatia if it helps to stem the migrant influx. But they have called for the restoration of Schengen area, where there is no need for a passport or visa. It functions as a single country for international travel purposes with a common visa policy. Meanwhile, the situation continues to be tense on the ground after an Afghan refugee was shot dead by the Bulgarian border police. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
That's it on this edition of the News at 6. Thank you so much for watching. Do stay tuned for Verdict 2015 on the other side. Goodbye.